Hello and welcome to our special Africa Cup of Nations show on France 24. Over the next 17 minutes, we'll be bringing you all the results and reaction from another packed day of AFCON action. I'm delighted to say that I'm joined in studio by South African sports journalist Thando Sibiya, and we'll be crossing live to our correspondent Justice Baidoo in Ivory Coast. Well, let's start with Group F and today's early game, which saw pre-tournament favourites Morocco draw 1-1 with the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The World Cup semi-finalists took an early lead through a tidy finish from Achraf Hakimi, slotting home from close range as a corner kick fell kindly to his feet. Congo missed a huge chance to equalise from the spot just before half-time, but Cedric Bakambu's spot kick hit the post and went wide. Katomba Mavumpa grabbed a deserved point for the DRC 15 minutes from time, calmly stroking the ball home from a cutback. Here's what the Moroccan coach had to say about that result for his side.
We will content ourselves with this result. We'll tell ourselves that we're unbeaten, that we've got 4 points and that we still have our destiny in our hands to finish top of the group. That's what we were aiming for, but we wasted a lot of energy and we didn't manage the game as well as I would have liked. But we're going to improve in the future thanks to this match.
Well, let's cross live to Abidjan now, where our correspondent Justice Baidoo is standing by. Justice, Morocco were pushed all the way by the Congo today. They easily could have lost. They struggled a bit after that early goal. What do you put that down to? Because they really are favourites for this tournament, but they struggled a bit today.
Definitely, yes. Morocco favourites for this tournament is coming from the standards that they set for themselves at the last World Cup, and also coming into this tournament strongly, winning their first game with 3 goals, dominating that game from start to finish. It was almost certain from all the pundits that they were going to sail through this group, especially against less fancied side like Congo, DR Congo, who they played today. But as you've seen, or may would know from all the other games in this particular, not just this particular tournament, but the history of the AFCON shows that you can never take anything for granted. Anything can really happen. It started off really well when Hakimi scored that goal, and it looked almost like the Moroccans were going to be able to see this game through. But the DR Congolese side were able to fight back. I think what worked for them was the compatibility in their team, and they were able to begin to frustrate the style of play of the Moroccan side, and then eventually that earned them that, as you said, very well-deserved goal 15 minutes to the break. So yes, they shared a point with Morocco. One thing that also happened, and maybe many people who were watching on TV would not see, was the near fisticuffs that ensued between the DR Congolese captain Chancellor Mbemba and a couple of the Moroccan players that, as we understand, continued right from the end, even till the end of the game, into the dressing rooms after the game. It was a huge game, and there was a lot of things at stake. DR Congo, they feel that they would need to be able to not just score a goal, but be able to win to brighten their chances of being able to progress to the next stage of this competition. And it showed in their play, their hunger, and their ability to be able to get that goal that has earned them a point from today's game.
Yeah, that's Justice Baidoo live from Abidjan, and we'll be back to him a little bit later in the programme. But let's bring in Thando Sibiya now, sports journalist. Morocco struggled today, as we heard from Justice. Congo were really quite impressive and put up a good fight. Could have won. I want to ask you a more general question about Morocco. Came in as heavy favourites for this tournament. Do you still see them as that? Was today a blip or an indicator of more problems in that side?
I think it could have just been a blip. I think that they are still capable of doing it. They do have the big match temperament, considering how far they made it into the World Cup. But at the same time, you do have the target on their backs. And so a lot of teams are studying them. You can also fall into where you get complacent. So I think one thing that they have to look out for is to avoid getting complacent, and I think that's what happened in this game. Considering that they came in with an early goal, it is very easy to then become comfortable and tell yourselves that initially coming into the tournament we were stronger, and then also considering the fact that it's a team like DRC who can be easily overlooked, and they came and stunned Moroccans today. I even watched towards the end of the game after the equalizing goal. They continued to be enterprising in attack, and they missed it just by falling short of finishing in a clinical way. And even some of them were actually some good shots on target where you'd find the ball hitting the upright or the far right. And so I really do think that if Moroccans want to see themselves lifting this trophy, they have to not be caught napping, and they really have to work on the game management.
Well, let's look at one of today's other games, which was Group E, and it's just finished in the last few minutes, in fact, and South Africa hammered Namibia 3-0 to reinvigorate their Africa Cup of Nations campaign. Bafana were awarded a penalty after a lengthy VAR check, which was duly converted from the spot. A double from Themba Zwane took the game out of Namibia's reach, and Tupelo Maseko added a fourth in the second half. The South Africans now in a strong position to qualify for the next round, although they'll need a point against Tunisia to guarantee their spot in the round of 16. Of course, Thando, as our South African in the studio, have to bring you in on this. A real statement win from Bafana Bafana today.
What a beautiful way to come back. I think not all hope was lost, especially considering that they had 2 more games to kind of right the wrongs of the first defeat. I am quite chuffed with the way that they handled it. Coming into this encounter, they knew that they had to get as many goals in, because if they needed to improve their chances of making it past the group stages, the goal difference was going to be a big thing. Coming into this game, there were 2 points, the 2 goals down, because the goal difference was on -2. And so this kind of then sets them up apart from the rest of the group. And now I think they're on the same amount of goals as Mali. And so that does then, I think, 1 point difference between the 2 teams. So South Africa now stand an even better chance of then progressing out of the group stages. Also coming into this game, you can see that they did a lot of their homework. They made the necessary changes, and you could see that they came in with the intent to do better. And it seems like the changes were made post-studying Namibian side, as well as perhaps the wrongs that they had. So in the previous game, they had a 4-4-2 formation, and they came into this one with 4-2-3-1. And so that also then shows you what it is. They had Evidence Makgopa up front alone, and in the previous game, he was alongside Zwane, if I'm not mistaken. And so you can then see that they're going in with the intent to go forward and attack going upright. And so you could see those changes in the style of play. Percy Tau then also righting the wrongs of the previous thing and having the same story being told all over again, but this time finishing the story differently, which is then successfully converting the penalty, I think also did a lot for the morale. Then you have Themba Zwane, Mshishi. He's well loved, he's adored by South Africans, because what he does for Mamelodi Sundowns is absolutely insane. And so he came out and he actually delivered today. And also managing to bag a brace was also quite notable. And then also setting that goal difference going into the end of the first half. And then you have Maseko coming in 11 minutes after being subbed on, and then scoring that last nail in the coffin. I think that was just a beautiful way to end. Another thing that perhaps is going to be something worth looking out for is Mugwena's niggle that he took towards the end of the game. Hopefully it's nothing grave for the team, but I am quite chuffed with the way that Bafana Bafana played today. Defensively, it wasn't as tight as perhaps it could have been, but I think attack made up for anywhere where it could have lacked during this game. So a good one to Bafana Bafana.
A great win from Bafana Bafana today. And it's great to hear you, Thando Sibiya, waxing lyrical about that win. And why not? A 4-0 victory, the biggest win in this tournament so far, and the great way to get their campaign back on track. Well, Group F's other game saw heartbreak for Tanzania. They were just minutes away from a first ever African Cup of Nations victory, but had to settle for a point. Simon Masuva gave the underdogs an early lead, and things got even worse for Zambia as Roderick Kabwe was sent off. They look set for a first ever 3 points, but Patson Daka's powerful header 3 minutes from time denied them. The draw means that both sides' tournaments are just about still alive. And I want to ask you, Thando, I want to talk about Tanzania a little bit because they're the lowest ranked side in the tournament. A lot of people have written them off completely, said no chance of even winning a game, but that draw coming so close kind of shows, without being too cliche, that any team can win a game in this tournament. No one's there just to make up the numbers.
I think with every game that I speak about in this tournament, I do say that it's any man's game. And Tanzania, they do have the potential. I think we do speak about, oh, can this one lift the trophy? And can this one do this? Can they make it out of the group stages? Can they do that? But as I mentioned in the opener, was that they do actually have the potential of being not necessarily the dark horses, but the team that can stun us and show us that in the next edition of the African Cup of Nations, if they do then qualify, that we can definitely be looking out for them, and then have this edition of the AFCON to use as a reference to then say that, do you remember what they did in 2024? And so I just think that the Tanzanian side have also been facing a few setbacks. I mean, losing their coach, having to then re-look at things. I mean, you don't have your coach on the sidelines anymore. You don't have him at training. That makes a difference. I do know that the coach who has now replaced him, Suleiman, who is also nicknamed Morocco, and the irony of that whole story is actually just insane. But I do think that he's actually carrying things quite well. And I think that they have a lot of work going into the very last game of the group stages. And so they're going to have to do their homework and, I don't know, pull something out of a hat if they want to see themselves actually then rewriting history for themselves in this tournament.
Yeah, well, Tanzania nearly making history today. So close yet so far. Let's look ahead to tomorrow's fixtures, and Group A is finally poised. Equatorial Guinea and Nigeria have already booked their place in the next round, but hosts Ivory Coast still have work to do. They know a point against Equatorial Guinea could be enough, but only a win will guarantee passage into the round of 16. Speaking ahead of the crunch match, coach Jean-Louis Gasset said that his side need to forget the loss against Nigeria.
We have to forget about the last match. We took a day to digest. We tried to draw conclusions from this negative result for us against a good team, a powerful team.
Well, let's cross back to Abidjan now and talk to Justice. Justice, what's the feeling like in the capital? Are they confident that their boys can get it done and get out of the group after what was a tough loss to Nigeria last time out?
For many people, this looks like a make or break for especially Ivorian supporters. The last time out, when they came to support their team against Nigeria, there was huge optimism that they were going to be able to win that game. And if they did win, then they would certainly have booked their place in the round of 16. That did not happen. It was huge heartbreak and disappointment for the thousands of people who had turned out. I mean, Ivory Coast is a huge football country. Many people rallying behind this particular elephant side. I mean, it has to be said that this is really, compared to the golden generation of the Ivorian team that had the Didier Drogbas, that had the Yaya Tourés, this really doesn't come to that standard. But even that, the people here still believe that they should be able to get out of this group, and who knows, they may be able to go all the way. And so everybody would be looking forward to that game tomorrow, especially because anybody else in that group could still be able to qualify. Another thing that you also need to know is that for this AFCON, there would be a place for the top four ranking third place teams in the groups to join the two from each group that will be qualifying straight away. And so every team would be taking the last round of matches seriously. And so those are the things that are at stake tomorrow. The other games in Group B, particularly teams like Ghana, Egypt, who have just had their top marks Liverpool man being recalled to England after his injury in their game against Ghana. They would all be looking forward to be able to book their places tomorrow. So yeah, definitely top matches happening tomorrow, and very, very great games to look forward to here in Abidjan.
Well, Justice Baidoo, live from Ivory Coast, thank you very much. Well, as Justice mentions, Group B will also go down to the wire tomorrow. AFCON giants Ghana and Egypt are both in trouble, as you can see from the group table here. Both sides need a win to guarantee progress into the next round. For Egypt in particular, exit at this stage is almost unthinkable. The Pharaohs have won the tournament a record 7 times and were runners-up 2 years ago in Cameroon. They face Cape Verde, who have a 100% record so far, and their task will be made even harder by the fact that they will be missing captain and record goal scorer Mohamed Salah. Well, that's all we have time for this evening. Thank you to Thando Sibiya in the studio and Justice Baidoo in Ivory Coast. And thank you for watching. Tune in at the same time tomorrow, 11:10 Paris time, for all the latest from the Africa Cup of Nations. Goodbye for now.